Good morning, friends and family. Hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Today, we are going to touch on what addiction and jail look like. For a lot of folks, they don't have the reality of what actually happens when you're an addict and jail happens. Josh Harrington, out of, I think he's in Salisbury, Rowan County, if I'm not mistaken. He has brought to light deaths inside of jails. If you don't follow jails and you don't know people that are in and out of jails, deaths inside jails are really not made a big thing, quote unquote, unless the family really makes a big deal out of it. We're having more inmate deaths because of the lack of, prison officers that are willing to work the prisons. A lot of jails and a lot of police departments are very short-staffed. So that means the jails are going to be very short-staffed. And just because somebody goes into jail does not mean that they have access to addiction treatment. That is a common misconception, that addiction treatment will be provided. Most of the times in most counties, there's no such thing. Now, there's some courts that have what's called a drug court. So if you get a drug-related offense, they will help you get into treatment, they will help you get a job, and they will, help you build yourself back up. But when you don't have a drug court system in place, you end up with people reoffending a lot. You end up with people dying inside jails because they cannot, quote unquote, get the help. Nobody should have to die inside of a jail cell. I don't care if they're a crack addict, meth addict, heroin addict, fentanyl addict. Nobody deserves to die inside of a jail cell because they can't receive care. Now, mind you, a lot of these jails and prisons, a lot of jails don't have medical staff on staff every day. Or they'll come in, hand out meds, and be gone. Or they either have one RN for the whole place. So people are not being seen like they're supposed to be seen. Like, I had one inmate tell me from Gaston County that he witnessed a bunkie that was detoxing very heavily, and the bunkie went and told the nurse, and she said, unless he makes it up to me, I ain't doing nothing for him. And this is the reality. So I see a lot of people and a lot of posts when they lock up these folks, well, it's a revolving door, it's a revolving door. You're absolutely right, it's a revolving door. You want to know why? Now, here's where, common sense isn't so common anymore, okay? You have the legal system, and we've been doing things for years, okay? And we've been doing it the same way. But mental health, ever since the United States started putting out these vaccines left and right, autism rates have skyrocketed. ADHD was null and void back in the 60s. There was no such thing. It has skyrocketed. They've put our children on mind-altering medications as soon as 4 years old, and they expect them not to grow up and have issues. Just being real with you folks. And if you look at street meth and Adderall, and this is facts, you can look it up, it's one molecule off. One. And my theory with Ray of Hope is that all courts should be made to have a drug court. Probation is a setup for failure. Most people that are on probation or that have a mental health issue that they have related and fixed, so-called, with drugs, don't have really good, they can't work until they detox. And I'm just being honest with you. And if you go to a local Suboxone clinic, like right now, if you doubt how much I'm telling you this costs, you can call Havana, Gastonia, North Carolina. Just for 1 week of medication is over $300 to pay for the doctor's visit and the medicine. It's $300 out of pocket. It's $200 just for the first week visit alone. So for a lot of y'all folks that are saying, oh, won't you just get sober? Won't you just quit cold turkey? Well, some people can't just quit cold turkey. They don't have the mental ability to do so or the support. Contrary to popular belief, Medicaid just isn't given to everybody. Medicaid just isn't given to an addict just because they're an addict and they need help. So that means they're paying out of pocket to get any help. And you would think that once somebody hits the jails 2 or 3 times with possession or they're stealing to supply their need, that the courts would have enough understanding to say, you know what, you need help with the treatment program. But I have watched our very own courts here in Cleveland and in Gaston tell people, well, I hope you get the help you need in jail because that's where you're going. That's not a solution. Sending someone to jail where we as the taxpayer, mind you, pay $25,000 to $35,000 per year to keep them up, when they sit on their hind end for a 23-1. They learn nothing there but how to hustle harder. They learn nothing in jail but how to be a hardened criminal. Because living in a jail cell, you can't get away from your enemies inside jail. You can't. And for a lot of you older folks that think that drugs don't run rampant inside jails and prisons, you are sadly mistaken. Our correctional officers only make $47,000 a year around here. And I don't know about you, but unless you are oblivious to the current economy, what is $47,000? Okay? So let's be real here. So you have, all kinds of nefarious subjects. And I even just watched a video about a jail in Albemarle where the nurses was putting the Suboxone strip inside a water cup, and that people were literally taking it back and they were sharing it, and people were actually snorting water because it had the buprenorphine in it. Ladies and gentlemen, we need mental health. We need the ability for these folks. I'm sorry, I do not agree with a drug addict getting 25 to 30 years behind jail and prison because they committed nefarious acts to supply their habit, when we can't even put pedophiles in prison for life. Pull up your local pedophile. And I'm sorry, but if you're okay with a drug addict sitting in jail and not a pedo, Houston, we have a problem. And I would much rather that my $35,000 that I pay a year keep every pedo in a jail cell than the addict that can be helped with mental health, and yes, let me make this very, very clear. Crystal clear for those that don't understand. I get it. An addict will not get help if they don't want to get it. If they ain't at rock bottom, they ain't going to do it. I get it. I've been there. I've been clean for 7 years. But it's not offered. It's not offered around here. The idea of getting help doesn't exist around here unless you have this. Now, I will say, there are some facilities that have opened that have sponsored beds. Okay? Those are few and far between. The red tape to get access to care is horrible in the South. Here in North Carolina, it's horrible. And I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. I would rather keep every pedo inside jail than the local drug addict. You know, we need to be able, these folks need to be able to be punished, but they need to be able to, if they're willing to do the work, they need the ability to be able to do so. And probation is a setup for failure. Probation, the only thing a probation officer is worried about is you peeing in that cup and making sure you make your appointment. Other than that, they really don't care. Do you how much caseload they have? I mean, ladies, we have to be real here, folks. And it's time for you to be real with yourself. And people act like jail is the solution. No, it's not. It's not the solution. We need to create long-term housing facilities for people that can still have their punishment, but learn how to live without it. And sticking them in a cell for 23-1 is not the solution. The problem gets worse. Imagine you had a mental health issue, you were doing drugs, or you had schizophrenia, or you had bipolar, and they stick you in a jail cell for 23-1, and you're in a little cell. Think about it. And when that door locks, you ain't getting out. And the person, and you don't get to choose the person you're a roommate with either. If you want that roommate out, you're going to have to fight about it. And then you're going to spend time in the hole. And that's 24. And whoo, they bring the shower to your door. So, a lot of you folks that have never lived a life, that never went to jail, never went to prison. Yes, prison saves some folks. You're absolutely right. But they still come out with severe PTSD. They still come out not being able to... What is the point in having someone sit in jail for 10 years, lose touch with reality on what life is out here? Then, when they're a year close to being out, some jails do a re-entry program, some do not. And they give them a $200 and say, here you go. Some of the jails and prisons, they make sure you have a house to go to. Some do not. But we have had so many people die inside of our jails. It's not fair. It's not right. And I know a lot of you are going to come on here and say, well, if they didn't want to die, they shouldn't have got on dope. You wouldn't be saying that if it was your daughter. You wouldn't be saying that if it was your son. You wouldn't be saying that if it was your mother. You wouldn't be saying that if it was your dad. So we've got to find better solutions to the problems. And I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of the mental health, a lot of the problems that we have today, the government knows about. They created this problem. Do you realize the U.S. government spent more money hushing the fact about horse dewormer that cures they spent more money hushing that, about it working, than they did the fentanyl crisis in the United States? You do realize that, right? If the United States really wanted to shut down fentanyl, it's very easy. It's very, very easy. But it's a lucrative business. And if you think for once that our local police departments and our local attorneys and bondsmen don't benefit off of it, you're sadly mistaken. And see, that's another thing that I want to talk about, is the money that is made off of one arrest. One arrest. It all starts with the person get arrested. So, person gets arrested, they have a bond. They paid a bondsman. Whatever that may be. It's 10% of whatever the bond is. Then that person has to go to court. So they wasted money to go to court. And they got to get an attorney. There's money for the county again through the attorney, because they gonna get that money regardless, whether you're guilty, not guilty. If you don't have money for an attorney, you're still gonna pay, and that's part of the restitution. The money that the courts bring in off of every arrest is monumental, and that's why they keep doing it. That's why when you go to court, the courts are overflowing. Overflowing. We've just got to get back to a society that, believes in the true healings and the things that are here. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, everybody matters and God loves us all. He loves each and every one of you. If you're watching this and think that God doesn't love you, I promise you, honey, God loves you. He doesn't matter where you're at. He loves you and He cares about you, and He died on that cross for you. And for any Christian that sits out here and judges another, we're not here to judge. We're here to, let people know that God loves them and that there's a greater day coming. And I just wanted to talk on this subject. If anybody has any questions or anything that they would like me to talk about, please let me know. I do have some Narcan available. If anybody needs any Narcan, I do have a couple of these available. So if you need some, please let me know. You can inbox me on Ray of Hope, Happiness on Facebook. I will keep everything confidential. If you are in North Carolina and you need Narcan, there is a standing prescription that is written for it, so you can go to the pharmacy and tell them that you need Narcan. Yes, you will have to pay for it, but you will not have to have a prescription for it. Well, I love each and every one of you. I hope you have an amazing Monday, and peace out. Love you guys so big, so much.